Hey everyone, March is finally here. Finally, right? Oh man, what a winter. But the blooms, hey, they're popping up everywhere on the farm. So in this month's kickoff of my list of things to do, we're going to cover a wide range of things that hopefully will help you in your garden. Starting with daffodils. With their trumpets announcing the arrival of spring, it's no secret that I have a love for narcissus. Planted over 450,000 of them at the farm, so come out and see them. Also, in today's episode, there'll be a few helpful hints on getting your plants off to the right start this growing season that include raised beds, soil amending, and an unlikely bath and beauty treatment that your plants are just going to love. I'm also going to be talking about onions. I know a lot of people go, onions? Really? I love onions. And we'll also be talking about how to get the most out of your salad greens. So make sure that you like the video, that is if you like it. Number 2, make a comment. We love hearing from you. And make sure you subscribe. Be a part of our family. It's just crazy how crazy I am over daffodils, but why wouldn't you be? Just look how beautiful these things are. And there are really 3 reasons why I love daffodils so much. Well, 4. First of all, they start blooming very early in the year. In fact, mine started blooming on the 15th of January. It's the 15th of March. They'll be blooming on the 15th of April. Now that's not one variety, single variety. That's multiple varieties blooming at different times, and that's what's important. Of course, the other 3 reasons I'm crazy about daffodils is that, hey, they're one of the easiest bulbs to grow. If you can't grow a daffodil, you might as well just hang it up. The other thing is that a daffodil's perennial, meaning that it comes back year after year. People often get perennial and annual confused. Annual means it only blooms 1 year, and it's an annual. Daffodils are perennials. They're going to come back year after year. That's why I don't mind planting, well, hundreds, maybe sometimes thousands of new varieties of daffodils every year out here. And the other reason that I think daffodils are the greatest is that the deer don't eat them. That's right. So if you've got deer problems and you want an early spring flower that they're not going to nibble on, they won't be eating on these daffodils. Another fascinating feature of the daffodil is that they come in 12 different divisions, and those divisions are based on the form of the flower. For instance, this one's called a large cup daffodil, which you have is the cup here in the collar. And then this one is a broken cup daffodil, because you can see the cup is actually broken or has a frilly sort of edge. And then this is a double. Look at that beauty. And then this variety is called a tazetta. It has multiple blooms on a stem, and this one is also a tazetta. These are just the different divisions of daffodils. For a natural look, what I do is just naturalize them by casting the bulbs out. Wherever they land, you just plant them there with an auger. They come up in the spring, and you get a display like this. You know, I'm always interested in using ordinary household products for improving my garden or anything in the house. And what I want to talk to you about today is using Epsom salts. Now we all know Epsom salts as something that you can soak in the bathtub to relieve sore and achy muscles, but it also can benefit plants. You see, Epsom salts is magnesium sulfate, and magnesium and sulfur are both essential elements in a healthy plant. You see, it helps build strong cell walls, and magnesium is very important in terms of chlorophyll production for a plant. That's the part that makes it really green. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give a boost to some of these little young phlox plants that I planted back in the early fall. They've rooted in nicely. I can see right here where they're planted, and I'm just going to take about a teaspoon of Epsom salts, and I'm just going to do a little circle like that around it. And with the rains that come, this element will soak in around those little roots. And here's a little balloon flower, or platycodon. I like providing Epsom salts out in the garden to new plants that I've planted, also things that may need to improve their color. I may have hollies that are slightly yellow in color, or magnolias or camellias particularly benefit from it. And late winter and early spring is a good time to apply Epsom salts because the plants are still dormant, and as soon as temperatures begin to rise, the day length increases, we get all of those early spring rains. This will soak in around their roots and be available to them when they wake up from their winter slumber. Now let's take off to the greenhouse, and I want to show you how I'm applying some Epsom salts to some of my houseplants and citrus trees. In my little greenhouse, I like to use Epsom salts in a number of ways. I take 2 tablespoons of Epsom salts to a gallon of water. And what I like to do is make sure the water is the temperature of the greenhouse. So this I filled up last night so it's not too cold, because you don't want to give a little shock to your baby plants. And look at these little tomatoes, they're already beginning to germinate. Now the other thing I like to do is use Epsom salts in the same solution once a month with my houseplants. And you can see back here, one of my citrus trees is looking a little yellow, so I think the Epsom salts is going to help that. Hey, if you've used Epsom salts in your garden and gotten some great results, I'd love to hear from you. Now, I really enjoy finding ordinary things that are very affordable, classic in the look, and use them in creative ways. For instance, these cylinder vases, you can do a million different things with them. They're a lot of fun to dress up for various occasions and as gifts. So what I've done here is I've taken one, and rather than cover it, I've just filled it with various kinds of citrus, lemons and lime slices here with just a bouquet of yellow mums, bright and perky and very affordable. And take a look at this vase. I just took some purple ribbon, had a little green band on it, and I wrapped it all the way around the cylinder vase, tied a little green raffia at the top, and filled it with these mauve-colored tulips. A beautiful gift. And then what I'm doing here, I just want to show you how you can take ordinary ribbon and just attach your ribbon. I like to start at the bottom. I'll just fold a piece of ribbon like that and attach the ribbon here, and then just gently turn the vase and just keep a little tension on it. It takes more ribbon than you might imagine. This is really a fun polka dot ribbon that I'm going to take all the way to the top. You want just enough overlap and bring it to the top. Take a pair of scissors and cut it off like this. And then carefully slide it under there so it adheres to the vase itself and the ribbon. And then pull it across like that. Yep. Now you can decorate that up just about any way you like. Now take a look at this one. I've been taking just some various twigs of different colors, and I've used this natural jute, and I'm going to tie this around. So if you're doing some sort of a dinner party, or you're looking for ways to set a table for a rehearsal dinner or something like that, these are affordable and creative ways to do flower vases. And then if you take something like these gorgeous hyacinths that have a tendency to flop anyway. Let me add some water first. What I like to do is keep them banded at the base like this, and then I just gently slide the hyacinths in there, and these natural twigs will help give this some support. As you can see, by taking something ordinary and applying a little imagination to it, you can come up with some extraordinary things. You know, I just love this time of year. I get really invigorated. I get kind of frantic, actually, because there's so much to do. But I tell you, this area of my garden is designed in a way that helps me sort of manage my anxiety, because it's really contained. It's only 24 feet this way and about 18 feet here. That's about 430 square feet. But the key really is these raised beds. And I put these raised beds in, you're not going to believe this, about 10 years ago, and they've really held up beautifully. But what I'm doing right now is every year I'm in the soil a little bit, and I do that because I've got a lot of humus in here and it breaks down, and so the soil level goes down. Also, by adding, some sort of a blend that actually has some activators in it, it really helps. And what I mean by activators are things like mycorrhizae They actually help the plants grow. And what I'm doing here is I'm just integrating some of that fresh soil into my old soil, like this. When I first planted these beds, or let's say when I first added the soil, I used 1 part of existing garden soil that I had, which had a bit of clay in it. I had 1 part sand that I added to help break up some of that clay, and then I added a lot of humus, probably more than 1 part humus. And each year I add more humus, and it's really worked very, very well. It's all organic, so I only use organic fertilizers when I fertilize my plants. Now let's talk a minute about the beds themselves. In the space, which is very limited, I actually have 8 different beds. I have 4 squares and 4 triangles. And it makes a really cool design to look in here. You can mix it up, you can make it all the same. Each year, you know, it's just kind of a fun exercise to come up with something a little different. So what I did is I made sure that I started with a 2x10 piece of lumber, and you can see right here the 2x10 lumber. And I used a Western cedar, and it's really held up well. And what we did is we used wood screws. You can see here and here the wood screws were attached. And you can see that the corners are mitered like this, and they've split a little bit, but hey, I think these are gonna last a long time. I mean, look over here on the side. If I dig down the 10 inches on the inside of this board, okay, yeah, it's rotted a little bit, but it's still really solid. I mean, I can expect probably another 5 years out of these beds. 15 years of raised beds. Can you imagine all the vegetables you can grow in that length of time? Late winter and early spring is a great time to get started with salad greens. But you know, you may think, gosh, it's awfully cold during this period of time. Well, you're right, but there are ways to get around it. Conventionally, we've done things like use bed sheets and plastic, even newspaper, to give a little protection from frost and cold temperatures. But you know, there's some things you can plant that really have sort of an antifreeze built into them that can take low temperatures. For instance, take a look at this arugula. I planted it last fall. It's got some damage on it, and we went down to 10 degrees about 3 weeks ago, and you can see that it has damaged leaves. But these plants are going to be fine. They're going to come on out. There'll be lots of new growth in just a few weeks, and I'll be able to harvest these and bring them into the kitchen and serve them up. Now, if you really want to get serious about protecting your plants from the cold, you can create a little hoop house like this. I've used this frost blanket, and I have it supported with some concrete reinforcing wire. And all I've done is pin this into the ground, pushed it in with the wire like that, and it hoops over. And then I've taken this frost blanket and put it over the top, and it creates a little microclimate in there that's much warmer. And you can see I wanted to protect my red cabbage. It too went through 10 degrees, but just look how beautiful it is. The other thing about these fabrics is that you can use them year after year. Once temperatures warm up, I'll fold these, put them in the tool shed, and then bring them back out when temperatures drop. And the other thing that's good during this season is these actually can help provide some protection from wildlife, like in deer. So try them out. Different people plant onions in different ways, but I'm going to show you how I plant onions. In the spring, when the leaves start coming out on the trees and it's still pretty cool, I like to create a long bed like this that's about 30 inches wide, and I throw the ground up about 4 to 5 inches, and it's good and loose. You can see what I've done here with this. Really good soil. And I'll use a all-purpose organic fertilizer in here, about a 4-4-4. And then I take onion sets. They come in bundles like this. They look dry and doesn't look like they've got much promise, but as soon as they make soil contact, you're going to have something really coming on that's going to taste good later on. These little basal plates here where the roots are, when they make contact, what I like to do is just push them in the ground just about 3/4 of an inch, and I space them about 4 inches apart, just like this, you see. And I line them up. And this is a little sweet yellow onion. And what's great about these is that I can come out here and I can harvest them, can thin them out, and eat them as green onions through the growing season. And as summer comes along, I'll keep pulling the soil away from them. And that'll cause a big bulb to form, like we see in the grocery store. And then they're harvested and they're hung in the barn, or a place where they won't freeze. They stay dry and cool, and they'll last all year long. and then we start the process all over. But it's amazing what can come from just a bundle of these. There's about 100 plants that come in a bundle. They'll go a long way, and I'm going to plant about 500 onions down through here, so we'll have plenty to eat all through the season. Hey, if you like this video, comment below and subscribe to my channel.